Hello, welcome to Unit 4, Lesson 4, Social Cognitive Theory. By definition, social cognitive theory explains how we learn from others. There are two types of learning, direct and indirect. So direct learning is how we learn by performing an action and experience its consequences. So we learn it by ourselves. The second type is indirect learning, and this is how we learn by just observing and imitating others. So we don't really have to experience the consequence in order to learn from it. So indirect learning is also known as observational learning. And a similar word is vicarious learning, which is how you learn from other people's mistake and success. So the four components of social cognitive theories are attention, retention, motivation, and motor reproduction. So attention states that the learner must observe and pay attention to the behavior in order to learn it. And people tend to identify with the model of the same gender, so they would most likely copy the behavior of the model that they look up to or the one that have the same gender as them. As for retention, this is basically when the learner must retain or remember the information that they observe in step 1, attention. And the third stage is motivation, and this is when the learner must have a reason behind performing the behavior. And motivation is influenced by reinforcement, which is basically the reward and punishment. So when those are given reward for doing the action will most likely to have motivation to perform the action than those that receive a punishment. And the fourth one is motor reproduction. This is when the learner must have the ability to physically carry out the performance. And this is affected by self-efficacy. So what self-efficacy means that is how much you believe in yourself. So those that have high efficacy, or those that have high belief that they can succeed in performing the action, they will most likely to do it. So they will most likely to be successful in learning the behavior. For those that have low self-efficacy, or those that don't believe that they can do it, they will most likely not to try to perform the action, so therefore they do not learn it. So here are some evaluation points of the social cognitive theory. So some strengths is that it has a high real world applicability. So since people learn from a model, they can use this as a way to influence and bring out more pro-social behavior by putting people have positive behavior on the ad. So children can start imitating their behavior and also express these pro-social behavior. And another strength is that it explains how people can learn through indirect learning. This expands the theory of learning because before Bandura have observational learning, which is the indirect learning. We only know that we learn through classical conditioning and also by operant conditioning, such as the reward and punishment. However, now that he brings in the social cognitive theory, we know that we can also learn indirectly. Another strength is that it has strong research support. So since studies like Bandura and Rocha and Alden has the same result, it shows that the social cognitive has high reliability. Some limitations of the social cognitive theory is that this theory assumed that the only way that we learn the behavior is by performing it. However, people could still learn the behavior but choose not to behave it because of their culture. And some studies that support the social cognitive theory, such as the Bobo dolls experiment, has low ecological validity, since punching a Bobo doll does not showing aggressive behaviors in real life, so it has a low ecological validity. And they have some cognitive variable as well that can't be measured, so that's another limitation of this. We're going to go over two studies that support the social cognitive theory. So the first one is Bandura, Ross, and Ross in 1961. So this is by Bandura, the guy that came out with observational learning. This is also known as the Bobo doll study. So in here, the children are divided into three groups. The control that receive no videos, the aggressive role model, which are those that watch a video of an aggressive person punching and hitting the bubble doll. And the third group is those that watch a video of a model performing non-aggressive behavior to the bubble doll. And they found that children that are exposed to the aggressive behavior of the role model tend to behave aggressively towards the bubble doll and even add new violent behavior to it. And they also found that children tend to imitate the same-sex model. So the girls would copy the female model and demonstrate verbal aggression, while the boys tends to copy the behavior of the male model and show physical aggression. So in here, attention is shown when the children start looking at the video and pay attention. Retention is when they memorize the behavior of the model. Motor reproduction is shown when the children aggressively hit and even like invent new aggressive behavior. So another study that supports this is the Alden and Rochat. So in here, the researcher did a naturalistic observation on the children in Samoa village and give them an MCQ test that tested their knowledge about the chief system. And they found that although they were not directly taught how to fish, the children pay a great amount of attention to observing the adult fish, and they were able to learn how to fish and became capable fishermen by the age of 12. And they also understand their tradition and the chief system, although they were not being directly taught by it. So in here, so attention is shown when they pay attention to the fishermen, and retention is when they start to retain the information, as they have the motivation to learn their own culture through enculturation. So that's why they have motivation to do it. And as for motor reproduction, they start to borrow the fishing material and start fishing by the age of 12. So in here, learning is shown because they were able to learn how to fish by just imitating the fishermen. So this is the end. See you next lesson.